Hello everyone. Do you like the kind of woman that will literally just ruin your life? One that's completely and totally mentally unstable? Well, here's the bad news. If you're watching this video, the chances of you getting one that is actually a 3D woman and not a series of pixels on screen is very, very slim. However, here's the good news. You can play this game called Miside to scratch that mentally unstable woman's itch. You look lonely. I can fix that. The development team of Miside goes by the name of Ihatso. I hope I said that right. They made a few games before developing Miside. The development team is two Russian dudes who presumably escaped from the Escape from Tarkov developer human trafficking ring set in Russia. Weird how Russians think that a woman loving you too much is somehow horror. Wonder what they meant by this. The game was released on Steam on December 10th, 2024 to overwhelmingly positive reviews. The real question is, do I think Miside is worth your time? Short answer is yes. With that being said, let's get into the story. The game starts off with you, the player, being put into the shoes of the protagonist, whatever you just so happen to name him. Just like in real life, you too are a loser. One who more than likely goons to pixels on the screen of anime women, hoping to one day garner the affection of a three-dimensional woman, but you're too busy posting an R9K. The player receives a notification on his phone for a new mysterious application. Of course, you download it without hesitation with the hopes of a woman, two-dimensional, giving you a crumb of attention for once in your life. The app then opens and you're greeted with Mita, a purple-haired anime girl who most certainly will not be attempting to murder us later. Just like most women, her house is a total disaster. Bitch, do you really live like this? So, it's up to us to help the woman, two-dimensional, to essentially fix her entire house for her, as she just stands there and looks at us to do all the work for her. She, just like her real-life woman counterparts, then demands that we start spending money on her. She demands a TV, so you end up completing a few minigames to earn currency to buy her one. Pay attention to the minigame of you disassembling the cartridges. This will be important for later. Mita then laments over the fact that she wishes that she could spend more time with us. She then sucks us into her world. No, that's not an innuendo. So we then gather some objects together to put into a teleporter to bring us to her version of the game. You fix the teleporter, then are sent to Mita's version of the game. Mita greets you as you exit the teleporter. You know this is a work of fiction over the fact that a woman is happy to see you. You then end up cutting some vegetables for a dish that Mita is preparing. Once the dish is completed, you're almost immediately roofied. It's so hot. You and Mita then end up playing a game together. One thing you'll notice about Miside is how meta this game really is. You're playing a game of you being stuck in a game, playing another game. There's lots of mini-games within this game. All of them are actually pretty fun. Mita then invites you into her bedroom to play another game. No, that's not an innuendo. You end up playing a discount Yu-Gi-Oh! With Mita. This is 100% rigged, by the way. There's no way for you to win. Turns out, the game was rigged from the very start. You then end up hearing a knocking noise coming from the inside of her dresser. I honestly don't know any man in his sane mind who would just not accept everything at face value that an attractive woman says to him. If a hot woman had banging noises coming from the inside of her closet, I wouldn't question it. I'd just go along with it. The more unhinged, the better. I'm only thinking with one head, as are most men. Anyways, she attempts to stop you from looking inside the closet, but unfortunately the player is severely autistic and can't understand when women are giving him social cues. You are then transported to what I presume is a different version of the game. And this is when the actual horror begins. You then find a key and proceed to the Grape Dungeon. This is where you are greeted by a different version of Mita, but she's not mentally ill, so we're not interested in her. Normie tier Mita then gives us a Green Lantern ring that will help us later. Normie tier Mita tells us that Grippy Socks Mita has been luring real-world Anons into the game and turning them into cartridges. You're interrupted mid-conversation with the reappearance of Grippy Socks Mita. You are then forced to cower in the corner like the giga-cuck you are, while Grippy Socks Mita does an evil monologue. You then slip away up the stairs and end up in the Metaverse version of the back rooms, but with staircases instead. You eventually find some chibi people to human traffic to accomplish your goals of opening a door. You run into Normie tier Mita again, and then she starts woman-splaining to us about how we need to go and reach the core to go and shut down Grippy Socks Mita. You're then introduced to another version of Mita, just simply known as Cappy. Her whole gimmick is that she's supposed to be really cool. And that's it. Then we never see her ever again. Normie tier Mita informs us that her teleporter isn't working and that we're going to have to do this Half-Life 2 style and traverse through a number of set pieces throughout the game to get to the core to shut down Grippy Socks Mita. In the meantime, while Normie tier Mita is messing with your Ryan Reynolds ring, you go out into the living room with Cappy and play some minigames. You can play a rhythm game with her. The song is actually kinda catchy. After playing a few other minigames with Cappy, we then return to Normie tier Mita, who then gives us our ring back. We are then transported to the We Have PT at Home section of the game, which is another version of the game. You endlessly go through a loop of the same hallway over and over again until things start to become very silent and hilly. You then meet Lolly Mita, who doesn't want you to leave her version of the game. Unlike other Discord moderators, you know how to leave children alone, and don't end up grooming the child. In the next area, you're greeted with another version of Mita. You end up playing a minigame where you do an assembly line of Mitas. This is the part of the game that essentially explains how Grippy Socks Mita was made, along with all the other Mitas. She was just a bad copy that slipped through the cracks. This new version of Mita, who we will call Short Hair Mita, then exposition dumps to us on how the game world works. You then have to head underground to sneak past the dummy-thick Proto-Mitas. I died here a lot. Basically, you have to look at them the whole time or else you'll die, like that one SCP. We then end up in a discount Shadow Moses to play some more minigames. Connect the dots? Fairly easy stuff. Grippy Socks Mita then greets us by throwing a fridge at us. I then take the opportunity that any other man would take. In this next area, we then do an on-rails section, quite literally, and shoot things as a Mita rail car takes us across the chasm. We're then greeted by Linkin Park Mita, who's doing her best blackface impression. Justin Trudeau would blush. After searching her room and finding pictures that were ripped apart by edgy Mita, she suddenly remembers, and she's no longer racist. We then move on to the next area to encounter more dummy-thick Mitas. After the dummy section, we then find Sleepy Mita, or also known as the most motivated person on food stamps. After attempting to wake her up several times to give her a job application, it's no good. So we'll have to go to the kitchen and make her a cup of coffee to motivate her to move out of Section 8 housing. After slaving away making the coffee, we give it to the Sleeping Beauty, and she finally helps us to move on to the next area. We then end up in a visual novel. I'm going to be real with you here. I skipped most of this part because I have the attention span of a goldfish. Just assume nothing important happens, and that I actually looked over the footage to ensure nothing happens. Something happens, and then suddenly Grippy Socks Mita interrupts our visual novel. We're then transported back to the 3D world and are greeted by Tsundere Mita. She tells us that her name is Mila, and that she was created by a man named Chris Chan as a Sonic OC character. We're forced into more minigames around the house in an attempt to fix the glitches so we can move on to the next area. As we finish our tasks, Mila then begs us not to leave because she's feeling lonely. Thankfully, none of that matters because Grippy Socks Mita reappears and dismembers Mila the second we walk through the door. I then die several times running down this hallway from Grippy Socks Mita. I'm fairly sure this next area is supposed to be the game Catherine. Grippy Socks then tells us the rules for the next set of minigames, and like any simp worth his Twitch e-girl donation money, we do everything she tells us to do. Afterwards, we're then transported to version 0.5 of the game. We finally meet your ideal femcel e-girl in this new version. She chases us away with a knife, and Normie Mita saves us by opening the door at the end of the hallway. We've finally reached the core. You know, I really enjoyed the terminal sessions in Doom 3. So anytime I see computers or screens in-game that are interactive, it reminds me of Doom 3. We then tinker around with our parents' computer, downloading every virus known to mankind by downloading a Limp Bizkit song off of LimeWire. We then hit a roadblock. I don't know the character index, nor does Normie Tier Mita know the character index code. So she leaves to see if she can go find out what it is. Mita tells us to wait here for her return. And of course, we don't listen and go wandering off right into the hands of Grippy Socks Mita again. Grippy Socks then monologues about how Gooners are the absolute worst and how the devs of this game are also not beating the Gooner accusations. Our protagonist, being a closeted homosexual, then refuses the advances of the hot mentally ill woman again. I imagine there wouldn't be much of a game, then, if the protagonist actually did what every single player wanted to, and be the subservient pet of a femdom mommy. Mita then shows us how much of a loser we are by having us run through how boring our real-world days actually are. You go to the Goon Station, eat your goyslop, then tinker with the game files. Every single day. You know, I don't know what's so terrible about an anime girl coming through the screen and pushing you onto a bed and asking you to stay with her. You were this close to honoring the wishes of Shinzo Abe. Go have sex. But our protagonist is gay and won't do it. We're then taken to the Gooner cage by Grippy Socks, and Normie Mita frees us from our cage. Normie Tier Mita is then murdered by Grippy Socks. When we find Normie Tier Mita again, she has forgotten literally everything and is basically useless to us now. We then find a sticky note with the index on it and return to the core. We then use the index to activate Halo's defense systems, and Mommy Mita then grabs us and transports us to another version of the game. I'm not sure if the way she grabs us is supposed to be a Titanfall 2 reference. We are then transported to the newest version of the game, and are greeted by Grippy Socks Mita. We then tell Grippy Socks that we want out of the game, and then proceed to the door. She then tells us to go down to the Goon Cave to go input our player ID number. We then go back upstairs and attempt to leave through the front door. Grippy Socks then gives us a hug, then reveals that she still remembers everything and that we are in fact cooked. She then tells us she never had her own version and that basically everything we did was fruitless. We are then transported back into what appears to be the real world and delete the Miside app. Then suddenly the game engine is transferred to the Unreal Engine 5, and our frame rate absolutely shits the bed. Then Grippy Socks takes our cartridge out of the console. Then the game is over. We have now metaphorically been turned into a plushie for Grippy Socks. You've met a terrible fate, haven't you? Music. I really enjoyed the soundtrack to Miside. The ambient music in the game is very pleasant to listen to and fits every scenario that you find yourself in. Personally, I enjoyed the rhythm game songs the most. As far as gameplay goes, this game is basically a walking simulator. You go from set piece to set piece with a few minigames sprinkled in between. Most of the minigames are pretty fun. I always had a good time exploring the environments and seeing if I could find any Easter eggs in them. The art style to the game is also excellent. Every model and environment is well crafted and is pleasant to look at. Unlike most modern games, the women here are actually attractive and are made with gamers in mind. In conclusion, Miside is a one-trick pony sort of game. When you've beaten it once, there's little to no replay value to the game. Do I recommend Miside? Yes. But not because it's some sort of fetish content to me, but simply because from start to finish the game was able to hold my attention, which very few games are capable of nowadays. Miside is only $15 on Steam. Go pick it up. Or, I don't know, don't. I don't care. That's going to be the end of this review. Thanks for listening. I will see you in the next review. Until next time, friends.